person is a person because of other people. Or an alternative title that I cannot pronounce and give the actual words their proper meaning. The author is Jeremy Cronin, who spent 7 years in prison and was in isolation a lot. And the whole poem has symbols of tiny gestures of humanity that kept him alive in isolation. Also, hi Nomi, here's your shout out. Shouting you out to you. Okay. By holding my mirror out the window, I see. From this, we see that his view on life, or what he can see, is very limited, and it's a very restricted view. Clear to the end of the passage. There's a person down there. That acknowledgement of another person shows that he is alive. And that was so important to people in isolation, just that reminder that you are alive. A prisoner polishing a door handle. So a prisoner shows there's no name or no identity. There's no individuality, because your individuality is taken away when you're in prison. And as he's polishing a door handle, he's making the most of an activity that gives him freedom. So something as small as being able to polish a door handle and not being in your cell is freedom. In the mirror, I see him see my face in the mirror. So that's an acknowledgement. I see the fingertips of his free hand. So that also links to the idea of freedom and how limited it is. And this is secretive communication because their mouths aren't free. Their mouths are bound. And this gesture is the only contact the author has, and this contact is incredibly meaningful for the poet. I see the fingertips of his free hand. So this is sign language, and he talks through hand gestures and through the mirror. Bunched together as if to make an object the size of a badge, which travels up to his forehead, the place of an imaginary cap. This right here is an explanation. This means a warder. So italics is what would be said out loud. So it's the direct speech, the direct communication, and the actual words that would be said. And it's in parenthesis. 2 fingers are extended in a V and wiggle like 2 antennae. He's being watched. So we see this is not in italics because that's not what he would have said out loud. This conversation is very dangerous, and it's because it's very dangerous for the prisoner to talk to him, because he's a political prisoner, which meant they were at high risk of communication. A finger of his free hand makes a watch hand's arc, so he's mimicking a watch, on the wrist of his polishing arm, without disrupting the slow rhythm of his work. So slow, it's repetition. It shows he's taking time because his freedom links back to that image. Later, so that's direct translation. Maybe we can speak. Hey, oh gosh, excuse the Afrikaans. Wat maak jy daar? So this is Afrikaans, which is the language of the apartheid era, the language of the oppressor. So yeah, it has a negative connotation in terms of apartheid. A voice from around the corner. So this voice doesn't get identified, but this is because it doesn't need to be identified. The power of this voice is so great that it doesn't need a name. Because it's the voice of power and control. No, just polishing Baas. And Baas was an apartheid term that linked to race. He turns back to me. Now watch. So him is the prisoner. His free hand links to freedom. The talkative one slips quietly behind. Oh, the talkative one is ironic because they couldn't be talkative. So he slips quietly because he's secretive and he's a prisoner. Strength, brother, it says, in my mirror, a black fist. So in all the rest of the poem, it was the explanation and then the italics. But now it's the italics and then the explanation. And that shows, this emphasizes the last line. The blackface is representative of humanity being confirmed. It's seen as part of the struggle. It's seen as encouragement, power and solidarity, and he's been recognized by someone else, which confirms and acknowledges him. So the poem has layout and typography and italics and direct speech with absence of sound that are very important to it. Anyway, this is also a very good poem, and I really enjoy it. It gave me goosebumps the first time I read it.